Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak's essay Three Women's Texts and a Critique of Imperialism offers a critical examination of colonialism and its impact on women's narratives. Spivak uses three literary texts, written by women from different cultural backgrounds, to analyze the effects of imperialism and colonialism on gender and representation. Spivak opens her essay by establishing the theoretical framework for her analysis. She introduces the concept of imperialism and its implications for feminist theory, particularly focusing on how colonialism affects the representation and agency of women in literature. Spivak emphasizes the importance of critiquing imperialist structures to understand the complexities of gender and cultural identity. The three texts. The essay centers around three specific texts that offer insights into the impact of imperialism on women's lives and narratives. These texts are Jean Rhys's Wide Sargasso Sea, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and the autobiographical writings of Indian women. Spivak uses these texts to explore how imperialism and colonialism intersect with gender, race, and identity. Analysis of Wide Sargasso Sea. Spivak provides a detailed analysis of Jean Rhys's Wide Sargasso Sea, which is a prequel to Jane Eyre. She examines how Rhys's novel depicts the experiences of Antoinette Causeway, a Creole woman in the Caribbean, and how these experiences are shaped by colonial and imperialist forces. Spivak discusses how the novel portrays the intersection of race, gender, and colonialism, revealing the complexities of identity and representation in a colonial context. Critique of Jane Eyre. Spivak also engages with Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, focusing on the representation of Bertha Mason, the madwoman in the attic. She critiques how Bronte's novel depicts the colonial other through Bertha's character and how imperialist attitudes are embedded in the text. Spivak argues that Bertha's portrayal reflects the ways in which colonialism dehumanizes and marginalizes individuals from colonized regions. Autobiographical writings of Indian women. Spivak incorporates the autobiographical writings of Indian women to provide a counterpoint to the colonial narratives in Wide Sargasso Sea and Jane Eyre. She examines how these writings offer perspectives on colonialism and gender from the viewpoint of women who experienced imperialism firsthand. This comparative approach highlights the diversity of experiences and the impact of colonialism on women's lives. Imperialism and gender representation. The essay delves into the broader implications of imperialism for gender representation in literature. Spivak analyzes how imperialist ideologies influence the portrayal of women in colonial and post-colonial texts. She argues that these representations often reinforce imperialist and patriarchal structures, shaping how women's identities and experiences are understood and depicted. Post-colonial critique. Spivak's critique extends to the limitations of post-colonial theory in addressing gender issues. She argues that while post-colonial theory has provided important insights into colonialism and its effects, it often overlooks the specific ways in which imperialism affects women. Spivak calls for a more nuanced approach that considers the intersection of gender, race, and colonialism in post-colonial analyses. The concept of subaltern. Central to Spivak's argument is the concept of the subaltern, which refers to marginalized and oppressed groups whose voices are often silenced or excluded. She discusses how colonialism creates subaltern subjects and examines the challenges of representing these voices within the framework of imperialist narratives. Spivak's analysis emphasizes the need to address the complexities of subalternity in discussions of imperialism and gender. Implications for feminist theory. Spivak reflects on the implications of her critique for feminist theory. She argues that feminist scholars must critically engage with the legacies of imperialism and colonialism to develop a more inclusive and intersectional approach to gender studies. This involves addressing the ways in which colonialism intersects with feminist concerns and reconsidering how feminist theory can engage with diverse cultural and historical contexts. Spivak calls for a critical re-evaluation of how imperialism and colonialism are addressed in literary and feminist studies. She emphasizes the importance of integrating post-colonial and feminist perspectives to create a more comprehensive understanding of gender, representation, and power. The essay advocates for continued exploration of these themes to address the complexities of identity and colonial legacies.